If you strike me down now, I will become more powerful than you'll ever. Monkey Dragon.
Hey YouTubers, it's me, Monkey Dragon here, bringing you a little bit of a concern that I have with Black Ops 2. And before you guys go, oh, see, I knew that you were lying that you wouldn't like Black Ops. No, I'm still looking forward to it. It looks like a great game. But there is one thing after reviewing everything that I found out about the game, you know, the perks, the guns, how things are going to happen, you know, just a whole bunch of information out. And I've been looking at it. There's one problem that I have with it, and it's not like, oh, it's a game breaker. It's just a little thing that I'm like, ah, man, that's still here. And it has to do with, like, the ghost perks that are there. Don't get me wrong, I'm glad that they're breaking up into 4 different sections. If you guys don't know, there's one perk that hides you from AI-controlled kill streaks, like attack helicopters and sentry guns. And then there's a perk that hides you from, like, player-controlled kill streaks, like a chopper gunner or a predator missile. That's one thing that I do like they broke up. And then they broke up the kind of invisibility part of them, the perk, to where you're invisible to UAVs and immune to counter UAVs in one perk, and then in the other you're immune to pretty much all kinds of equipment. And this is one problem, that's the one problem that I have with it so far, is that in Black Ops I actually like this, to where if you had a motion sensor you had to run hacker to be invisible to it, and if you had assassin you were invisible to the other attachments like the thermal sight. And this is what I was hoping to see that would return in Black Ops, because I really don't like the fact that you can still be invisible to everything. I've always liked it to where there's a downside, because in Black Ops if you ran hacker and you were invisible to the motion sensors, then people could hear you, people can sound whore you and still know where you are. But if you ran dead silence to where people couldn't hear who you are, they could see you on a motion sensor. And if you wanted to run this, you were able to be detected by this. There was always one thing that you had to decide, okay, and it made you think a lot more, to where, are these guys really using a lot of motion sensor, are these guys really sound whoring, or are these guys doing a combination of two and I should switch it up depending on which way they go. It made you think a lot more when there was a downside to something that you used. It was less like, I'm going to throw all this on and I'm going to be invisible, I'm going to be OP, and I'm just going to own, I don't have to think about anything that I do. And that's the thing that I really don't like about the Modern Warfare 3 series, is because of Assassin, I felt that it was really overpowered in the sense that you're invisible to everything straight off the bat, and then you're immune to everything straight up, you know, next time. And it's only, I think, 20 kills while UAV's out or something like that. It was something completely ridiculous and so easy to obtain. I found it ridiculous. And anyways, and that's why I really don't like the perk, because it's so needed, because of how much it makes you immune to and how much it makes you invisible to where if you're playing Search and Destroy, where staying off the map and trying to sneak around and be tactical is really the whole key of the game mode. So Assassin is a must, but I feel almost dirty using it in the sense that it truly, to me, is an overpowered perk, and I hate when I'm forced to use something. Like in the other Call of Duties with stopping power. Because if a person ran Juggernaut and you weren't running stopping power, then you would just get murked by them. Or let's say they were running stopping power, you're running something else, then you would get murked to them. You either had to run Juggernaut or stopping power. It was either one of the or. You had to run one of the perks, or else you'd get owned in most cases, unless you were behind them teabagging them like I was with that guy. Oh, and by the way, right now, this isn't exactly a problem with the video. It's actually a problem with the game. We're actually lagging really bad here. It was a combination of the enemy team rage quitting and really bad lag between hosts. So that's what that is. If you're wondering, like, oh man, the video, it's bad. It's the game. So anyways, back to the main topic is, so my big thing with this is that now it makes some of the other attachments useless. And before I get further in depth with that, I want to say this one thing is, when I first started Modern Warfare 3 and I got maybe first, second prestige, and I knew somewhat about the game, I had a pretty good grasp about how it hold, and I would still get friends coming in either for Christmas or getting the game late, or they weren't that good and they were just asking me how to do, because believe it or not, before YouTube, I still gave advice about all the Call of Duties. I like talking about it. It's, if you know about games, we can have a 30-hour long conversation. But anyways, so a lot of the things I would recommend is to run the motion sensor, because it was a great tool for the people just beginning out and learning the maps. And if they could have a full team of them, they can light up the whole map and have a pretty good general kind of UAV, an all-time UAV everywhere. And it was a good way to learn the maps, how they flow, to see where spawn points are, to see if you go over here, the enemies will spawn over here. If you couldn't naturally get that from just playing the game, it was a good tool. That's what I seen it as, was a tool to assist you. And if you weren't good at spotting out spawn zones, or if you move over here and your team's over here to see that they spawn up behind you, it was a good thing. It was a good learning tool. That's the way I seen it for. And in Black Ops 2, if you don't know, you can actually have 2 motion sensors if you're willing to spend the extra 2 points for the wild card and for the, of course, the additional motion sensor, which I thought, oh my god, that's going to be overpowered when I first learned about it. Because could you imagine 6 people all throwing out motion sensors everywhere? That's 12 motion sensors. I don't care what about the size of the map. Even if you put it in one building, that's one constant ping. If it is like Modern Warfare 3 and everyone can see it, that's one huge ping radius, if you know what I mean. That's insane. But anyways, so my problem that I had with Modern Warfare is that if you use one thing, it rendered the other thing completely useless because you were invisible to everything else. And in Black Ops, like I said before, is that if you had the motion sensor, or if you had the perk to be hidden from the motion sensors, you could still be spotted by the thermal sights if you weren't running that other perk. So you had to run both perks to be invisible, but if you weren't running both perks, you're still detectable. And this is where I have the problem with Black Ops, is that now, if you're running a motion sensor, no, before I get into that, like I said before, let me say this one instance. So say that you're still learning Black Ops, and say I didn't know about the perk, and you asked me what I would ask you for, or what I would recommend. I would say, you know, maybe use a heartbeat sensor, motion sensor, and the millimeter scanner to learn about camping zones for people, the fluid motions, and pretty much everything that I said before, to help you learn about everything. These detecting tools is great for a good tool to learn how certain players play. And now that you're invisible to everything with this one perk for the attachments, if you're running a motion sensor and you throw it out and you're relying on these tools and they're invisible, you can't really depend on another tool like the millimeter scanner or the thermal scope. If there's a heartbeat sensor, I completely forget whether or not there is. That's why I'm going to keep saying it, because I completely forget. Now it renders all these other tools useless, because there's no reason to have a millimeter scanner if you're always running up with your motion sensor, because if they're not showing up the motion sensor, they're not going to show up on your millimeter scanner because they'll be invisible to it. And this is where I have the problem, is that now this one perk makes you invisible to everything else, making everything else render useless. You can't run a thermal scope, and you can't run a motion sensor or a millimeter scanner and a motion sensor, because it would become pointless. Because if they're invisible on the millimeter scanner, you're not going to see them on the motion. If you're not going to see them on the motion, you're not going to see them on the millimeter scanner. That's kind of the repetitive of it, and I don't like that, because I want it to be, there would still be a drawback between one or two different things. Like I've said, is if you make it to where you just run a couple things and then you don't have to worry about anything, there's no fallbacks, there's no drawbacks, then it takes away the edge of the game. It takes away the fact that, okay, now you really have to think about what you need, about what you need to use, what's good for you, the play style, the other enemy team, what the other enemy team is using, because if they're using this a lot more than this, then you don't have to run this and you can run this. That's a lot of thises, I know. But I'm just giving you examples. I'm not going to start naming off stuff, because then you guys will go, what, if you don't know. So that's the whole thing, is if that you're just invisible to everything. And I know, yes, they're breaking up between 4 ways. I've stated this before. I know, I like that. But I still wish them to break up that one aspect, because I'm glad that, you know, if you're not running the motion sensor blocker, the perk, I forget the names of the perks, please don't rage on me. I'm glad that, you know, hey, if these guys are really running this thing to where you're invisible to motion sensors, I'll just run the UAV. But the whole thing is, not a lot of people run UAVs, and a lot more people would want to be invisible to the new X-ray scanner, so they're calling it, and I would imagine that a lot more people want to be invisible to that. And then, although the UAV is now a good thing to use, because if you don't know, if someone gets a kill while the UAV is up, then you also get points. So maybe now this will actually change to where a lot of people are running UAVs. I know I will now, because that's a pretty good tool. You get to see the enemies, and you get points for getting them out, you know. It's pretty good. It's a fair trade-off. But the whole thing is that still, if you have no one running UAVs and everyone's running the motion sensors, because a lot of people are trying to go for high kill streaks, although this is your fault for not learning that they're running the invisible kill streaks to your motion sensors, I still feel that it renders the other attachments useless, which is, I said it multiple times in the video, but still, it's a little bit kind of a letdown. To where I thought they really thought a lot of things out, and I'm not bashing. I'm saying, oh no, you completely ruined the game. It's over. Nope, I take back everything. No, it's still a great thing, but there's always one or two things in every game that slips through the cracks, or sometimes there's cracks, not the other thing. They get through and kind of not ruin the game, but you notice that they didn't really catch that, and it kind of changed the effect of the game. And this is one of the things that I thought kind of slipped through the cracks, and maybe they didn't really think about it too much, but I'm not going to bash on them. I still love what they're doing with the game. I love how they're changing everything up. I'm still looking forward to the game, although that's the one aspect I think I'm going to probably notch your guys' ears for the time that I'm going to be playing the game. Although, don't get me wrong, they can change this aspect at any point. That's why they keep saying it's in the alpha stages, and they keep changing things around. Anything that I've set up to the point is still up for debate and up to change, because that's what they're constantly doing. They could actually, for some weird reason, they could actually be listening to this video and go, oh, you know, that's a good point, to change it. Although I doubt anyone up there is going to be listening to my video. What am I? I'm a little blip on the YouTube screen. And that's all I really have to say on that subject. And with the lot of minutes that I have left, there is one thing that I wanted to address really quickly. Is a few days ago I made a video about Call of Duty Elite being down and I wasn't able to get in. And if you guys don't know, they remastered Call of Duty Elite. They made it 2.0, I guess, getting ready for the launch of Black Ops 2. But with the new system and the new coding in it, they're having a lot of problems with the servers. People can't get in, people can't log in, their data's not there. And it's come to the point where the clan management part of the aspect of it, I can't really change anything, and all your guys' data is kind of gone. It just shows that you guys are there, and in the invite sections it says that I invited you, and in the application sections I'm able to add you there, but in the invite sections I've sent everyone that I've messaged lately, and if you're watching this video I have sent you the invite. I could show you the list of invites. There's quite a few, but the whole problem with it is all it shows your name, and then everything, it looks like the data is missing. Even the images for you guys' avatars on there and everything. It's just no data, no data, no data, no data. So I'm assuming that I won't be able to, well, you guys aren't going to be able to join the clan in the sense that the invite system is a little bit down, and I would imagine it's because of the new features that they're bringing to it and the whole new thing. Every single time they change it up, it always brings a little bit of errors. But for the time being, guys, if I sent you an invite, unfortunately you guys won't probably be able to receive it till later. And if they do get the system up, I'll delete the invites and then re-send them, because I've done this already multiple times, and I'm just going to wait until they actually kind of quote-unquote fix the servers. And then I'll re-invite you guys, and if you guys are still having problems, just let me know, and we'll try to see if we can fix it. Whether or not it's on my end, or whether it's on your end, or it's Call of Duty Elite's end. It's probably the latter. But anyways, and with that, I'll just leave you with the last few remaining moments of this video. So like the video if you liked it, subscribe if you want to see more of my videos. Don't forget to tell your friends about me, because who wouldn't want to win $20? I'm Monkey Dragon. That's all I got. Peace.
Did he AFK or what? Why does he have the power and how do you say your name? Power, Bua, Bue. It's more about Bua. Power. More, Bua, Bua. More, Bua.